Welcome to Immortal Wisdom with Denis. I'm Vanessa Anceloni, and this is video 13th of a 15 video series on 15 incredible chapters that Denis wrote in a book After Death, recently published in its English version by the United States Spiritist Council. You can acquire it at spiritist.us. Today we're talking about education. In these 15 chapters, he talks about the ways in which we can march towards a steady, better life. And one of the ways is education. What does he mean? He talks about education that transforms, as he says. This is the book After Death, and he says it is education that transforms and improves the successive generations. In order to build a new society, one needs to form new individuals. Thus, it is of capital importance that education be ministered since early childhood. He is talking about a concept that was brought in by Kardec in the Spirit's book, in Kardec's own comment to question and answer 685. He says that we're not talking about simply the education of the intellect, but ethical moral education. One that needs to be discussed here. I think this is one of the most important chapters that Denis lays out to us, and the most difficult ones as well, especially because of the lifestyle many people are leading. He talks to us about the fact that we not only need to educate our intellect. It's not only about going to school and learning math. There are so many parents who are worried about alphabetizing their child, making them read good students, but they don't know that what we need to teach them, and Denis says that, to learn self-control, to behave like a reasonable and conscious being, and to enter life armed not only for the material struggles, but especially for material fights. Dear parent, dear educator, if you're watching us, let us meditate together. How are you preparing your child, your children, for the moral fights of life? I recall a parent who actually came to his preteen, who wanted a bicycle, and said that the neighbor was selling one because he needed money. And this father said, "You're not gonna buy it just because he needs the money, because that's not right to take advantage on somebody's need for you to acquire what you want. We're gonna give the rightful amount to this neighbor so we can acquire the bicycle." How many parents will do that? Probably very few, because majority would teach their children to take advantage on other people's lives, being selfish, being egotistic. Parents teaching their children to defend themselves by hitting and beating on others. That is not what we're talking about. Denis is talking about the education that prepares for the moral growth, because that's what we carry to the immortal life. He says a good moral education is hardly ever the work of one teacher. So we can't expect that teachers will do the work that parents are supposed to do. And he says exactly that. He says, if the parents are unfit to correct their children, how could one single teacher who educates a great number of them be successful? And I'd like to share with you something. Recently talking to pediatricians around the world, they have shared with me, "Vanessa, this new generation of parents are barely educating their children to tame their impulses and bad tendencies. They are becoming very permissive, and thus the children go to school allowed to do and be whatever way they want to be. And thus, if you bring your child who has a different education, they're going to struggle with it. They're going to find teachers who have a hard time dealing with those children who are poorly educated. At the end of the day, we all know, as Denis says, All moral pains result from bad education, bad parenting. And Leon Denis, when he talks to education, he's not talking about schools, he's talking about parents. And I know it's difficult, but he gives us advices. He says, there is one thing one must always keep in mind. Children are spirits who have come to us as we might help them overcome their failings and prepare them for the duties of life. He says, let us study since birth the tendencies of the child, what they have brought along from previous existences, and let us strive to develop the good ones and buffer the evil. We should not give them too many joys, so that, having been used to disenchantment since a very young age, these young souls might understand their earthly life is tough, and that one can only count on oneself and one's labor, which is the only thing that provides independence and dignity. That's interesting, huh? How many of us are like, I want to make my child happy? That's not the goal. The goal of parents is not to make the children happy. The goal of parents is to connect their children to God consciously, to teach them about compliance to God's laws, with love, with kindness, talking to them. We have a network. Go to spiritistparenting.org. It's a spiritist support for parents, and there we have a venue for communication with you, dear parent. We are sharing with others the insights of illuminated spirits on how to parent at the best possible way. And one of them is like Euripides Barçanufo used to say, talk to your child soul to soul. Do not baby talk to your child. Talk to the millennial spirit like we're talking here, you and I. Looking in the eye and saying, hey, we're here for, we can't, for a good purpose. We can't waste time. All right? And he says something that we may not like it, but it's true. Do not entrust your children to anybody unless you are absolutely forced to do so. Education shouldn't be mercenary. What do nannies care whether the children get to walk or talk early? They feel neither pride nor maternal love. Inversely, how much joy does a mother watch the first steps of her angel? So he's telling us, of course, if we live in places like the United States, we have nobody else, no family relatives to help out. We'll count on friends whom we trust, on babysitters that we know their background, but not like what people are doing nowadays. I see mothers on Facebook sending messages at the end of a Friday day saying, I need a nanny right away, please inbox me if you know anybody. So you're gonna leave your child with anybody just because you have to do something else? We can't. And the more you push away your child from your adult environment, the less they're gonna grow mature. Of course they have their own environment, and we have our own environment. There are moments in which they have to be apprentices in our environment. If we keep pushing our children away from adult environment, they're not going to grow mature. I bring Virginia to the Spiritist centers and the study sessions every time. Why? She has her space, she's playing with her things, but she's also respecting the adult space, and vice versa. It's a good training both ways. It's the Montessori way of being. And that's how we are going to become better parents, better educators. And he's telling us, let us educate our youth and enlighten their intelligence. Nevertheless, we must above all address their hearts and teach them how to get rid of their imperfections. This is Leon Denis in his wisdom, summing up how we should focus on true education to march towards our immortal growth. An opportunity for us to meditate, reflect, and help our schools as well get into the right pathway. How about that? The next video, we will talk about something that is also very interesting, which is about social issues. Until next one then.